Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about the series. About the this week's episode of Star Trek Discovery. Starting off great so far. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, a.k.a. Caliban, and I got to tell you, I always considered myself to be a nerd, but I have never played the Auto-Nim game with anybody. Wow, those Starfleet guys are nerds. Joining me on the show, as usual, is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family-friendly celebration of geekdom on the Chronic Rift Network. It's Ella Pearson. Welcome back, Ella.
Thank you.
Have you ever played the Auto-Nim game?
I can't say that I have.
I never. I Googled it. It's real. So anyway, it's good on them. It's a bunch of scientists and explorers in Starfleet. I expect something like that. So no hate, no shame. Hey, Ella, have you ever played a VR game? Is that what the kids are doing these days?
Maybe the rich kids.
Fair enough. I see you that one, and I'll call. I have not either, but I just wanted to say that I played VR for the first time today, and this isn't technically an ad, but I am wanting people to know about it. I played the Star Trek Dark Remnant VR game, which is now available at most Dave & Buster's. Definitely in America. I don't know, you might be out of luck if you are overseas. But what it is it's one of those things where you sit down, and you get the goggles, and you get the hand thing, and then it's like a whole immersive VR experience. You go on a Starfleet mission, like a rescue mission, and you're on one of those you're in like a chair, and the chair goes around when you're flying, and they blow wind in your face, and it was incredible. Like, I never want to play a non-VR video game ever again.
I have never wanted to go to Dave & Buster's until this moment.
And I come from an earlier age. I don't think I've been in an arcade for almost like 15, 20 years, like back in the days of the Aladdin's Castle, where it was like dark, smoky, because you could smoke indoors back then. And it was that sort of...
The good old days.
Yeah, the good old days. Yeah, no windows, because it's like a casino. You don't want anybody to know that there's an outside world. And you play Spy Hunter or something like that. But now... arcades are back in force, definitely at Dave & Buster's. They've got all these games. Everything's a shoot this, dance that. They have life-size Rock'em Sock'em robots, like man-sized Rock'em Sock'em robots to fight with. So, yeah, if Dave & Buster's is looking to sponsor a Star Trek podcast, we're right here. And we almost always get our intro right. So, before we move on, did you get a chance to see the new episodes of the new premiere of Twilight Zone at all?
I haven't.
Oh, okay. That's okay. It wasn't your homework or anything, but if you get a chance to see them in the future, we should definitely talk about them. I'll say interesting so far. I guess I won't give my whole review away, but they are definitely trying something different. But something that really stood out for me was they are adult, and not adult like...
Really?
Oh, they're just, they're R-rated. It's not under the FCC. It's CBS All Access. So you get some F-bombs in there. Like the very first one is about a comedian, a stand-up comedian. And so, it just seems like that sort of salty language sort of fits into that comedy club world. But I was a little taken aback. Like I couldn't see Rod Serling coming out and just picture this is beyond sight and effing sound. Like it's, it was a little off-putting.
It's about a comedian who gets to make a reboot of the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. And it's funny because Jordan Peele does host it, and he is it's almost like asking Jim Carrey to host it. Like he can play a lot of different roles, but he's so animated. He's known for that. And as a former performer myself, I feel like I see him when he comes out and does is a man, and he's in the Twilight Zone. Like I feel like he is holding very still, because even the slightest like eyebrow arch, I'm just trained to think like, oh, he's being funny, oh, he's doing a funny thing. He's got to be really...
It's 100% Jordan Peele.
Real straightforward, yeah. But yeah, check it out if you can, and maybe we'll talk about it in the future. I don't really have any specific Trek news to talk about before we get into tonight's episode, but I did want to know if you knew about the Borgs. Did you know that the control AI is maybe the source of the Borg? It seems like every single post I've seen on social media is like everybody's theory about why Control is the Borg or why Control isn't the Borg. And I wondered if
95% of Star Trek Twitter is just, it's the Borg, and the other 5% is me tweeting about Spock.
Yeah, right. Did you have an opinion on that in particular?
If it's the Borg, I will be disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah. For me at this point, like, I just want to move on. Really, like, I just want kind of a resolution. We knew that going into this season, with it being focusing on the Enterprise, pre-TOS and Pike and all that stuff, I knew that there would be these little shout outs, kind of references, canon tweaks, but it's like I just want them to just get to it at this point. Like, I feel like their attitude for a lot of their changes, a lot of the chances they've taken in the show have been to put something out there, people react, sometimes negatively, and they pull it back. It's like with the Klingons. They went with this thing with the Klingons. People kind of freaked out, and then they went, oh, forget about it. They got hair now, and they're all just doing the same thing. And I almost feel like, I think in their minds, this could be the Borg, but they're kind of waiting to see what people think about it.
See if everyone's mad about it.
Yeah. And if everybody's really mad about it, they can just go, well, they're just, it's just another cyber thing. But if they're not mad, maybe they can have, after whatever the resolution of this season is, like one guy is flying away in a ship and he's like, maybe a collective is what we need. And we just sort of plant that seed. I hope not.
That's the last line this season.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Maybe resistance is futile. I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, and that's going to kind of color my entire spiel for this whole show, because I'm glad it's just us tonight, because I want to vent some of my frustrations about the show. Your Honor, permission to treat the series as hostile. I want to go in a little bit on some stuff, but we'll get to that.
Permission for Aaron to spill the tea.
Yeah, tea is going to be everywhere, for sure. So anyway, we'll get into that in a little bit. We're talking about the 12th episode of Star Trek Discovery, Season 2. It's called Through the Valley of Shadows, and we're here to break it down for you. And before we start, as always, we're setting a course for the spoiler zone, so be warned. We're glad you've decided to join us, but if you haven't seen the episode, spoilers are incoming. The official synopsis for Through the Valley of Shadows is: a fourth signal leads the USS Discovery to an insular world where Pike is forced to make a life-changing choice. Burnham and Spock investigate a Section 31 ship gone rogue, leading to a discovery with catastrophic consequences. This episode was written by Bo-Yeon Kim and Erica Lippold. They are also working on the Section 31 series, which is in development, so this is right in their wheelhouse. And it's directed by Douglas Arniakowski. He previously directed Lethe in Season 1, The Sound of Thunder in Season 2, and the short trek The Brightest Star. Boy, let's see. We usually like to dig into theories before we get started on the episode proper. What do you think about what's going on with the lights? We've got 4 down. I never felt like the show was really counting off lights, although when you start a series by saying we've got X amount of something, it does seem MacGuffin-y or plot progression-y. Here we are with 2 episodes left and 3 lights. How do you feel they're going to deal with the lights, and do you think that they should be sort of knocking these lights out sort of one by one?
I mean, I've been concerned since the beginning that this wasn't all going to wrap up at the end of the season.
You think that some of the lights are going to carry over into the next season?
I guess it all kind of rests on the next 2 episodes. But I wasn't convinced that Dr. Burnham was telling the truth about not knowing what they are.
Okay.
Because she was so kind of like hostile, and then she's like, lights? What are you talking about? What lights? I just need to get out of here. And I was like, I don't really know, but I'm starting to feel like they really just don't know what's going on.
What, the people on the ship or the people in the writer's room?
I mean,
sorry about my tea.
The characters. But I mean, it could go either way. I guess we'll see. Yeah. If we know what the lights are by the finale, maybe it's the writers.
Well, yeah. It's something that I've thought about and sort of ruminated on as we've gone through these first 2 seasons of Discovery, which have been generally very strong. But we're in a position where, man, I hope Michelle Paradise doesn't knock a bank over or something like that, because I'd like to get through 1 season with no upheaval in terms of leadership in the show. Like, when you see them set up something and we go through a couple episodes, where you're led by a particular head writer or showrunner, and then you have to flip to somebody else, or somebody gets, somebody quits before we've even really started putting things on tape. You have to wonder how that affects the direction of a show. And so I just wonder if them sometimes tracking lights, or sometimes that's important, sometimes that's not. Sometimes we're going to take a detour to Talos 4 or something like that. I wonder if those structural hiccups or sort of bumps in the road come from chaos behind the scenes in terms of leadership, or if they wouldn't have done it any other way if they had another chance.
I definitely think that part of the trouble this season, maybe even most of the trouble, is because of the actual trouble they had with leadership. But I mean, I think a lesser show would have had a much, much rockier second season with the same stuff happening. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think they're doing a really good job. But I think that you can tell that something changed in the middle.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that is a good picture of the situation. Well, let's get into the episode proper here. What did you think overall of Through the Valley of Shadows?
I liked it. It was a little, the more like sort of soap opera stuff seemed like they didn't really have enough time for it. Like the stuff with Pike was like really emotional, and then he was just like in a complete state of shock afterwards, and then Ash and Laurel are revealing to everyone that they have a son, and that all happened really, really fast. Yeah. And I feel like it needed more time. Like they were rushing a little bit through, like there's a certain amount of stuff that has to get done by the finale, and it was just like they're checking off stuff on the list. But I mean, I liked it a lot. It was very emotional.
It's probably also another reason that they added the extra episodes at the end of this season to just get
definitely
in. And they're definitely serving a lot of masters here because we have to. Actually, I'm not sure that we did. I did like the sort of side trip to the Section 31 ship where we reintroduce Lieutenant Gant and everything. I mean, the second he comes on, it's like, okay, well, he's a robot guy, right? Like he's
right. I was
like,
there's
gonna
no
turn on them.
way one dude is alive, and Michael knows him.
But they already knew that Control could take people over, and so except for the ship trying to scarper away with them and take them somewhere, we didn't really learn anything. And then I guess like there's a conversation between Michael and Spock in the shuttle on the way there that doesn't really deepen their conflict, which I was hoping was resolved at this point. We just kind of get more of the same with them, and then we're set up to know that we've got to go somewhere at the end of the episode. And I just felt like that sidetrack, we could have spent a lot more time. Just think of all the mysteries of the time cave or whatever, in Borath. We could have done more there, but it was clearly that was all based around seeing this moment that Pike has, this vision of his future. What do you think of that?
What did I think of Pike's vision?
Yeah.
I was really surprised that they went for the full thing. Like I was like, oh, he's gonna glimpse something and be afraid. But they went for the whole thing. It was very sad. Pike is just he's so like wholesome. Like him just laying on the ground, like clutching his like friggin' Delta pin. Yeah, and being like, you are a Starfleet captain. You love Starfleet. I was like, me too, dude. Like,
right.
But I don't know. I mean, it didn't seem like a big sacrifice. Like, we're always like, you have to make the biggest sacrifice ever if you're going to get a time crystal. And instead it's like, you want to see your future? It's kind of screwed up, but like, you can take the crystal if you want after.
Yeah. In the Kryptonite Cathedral is what I thought of that as. Yeah, that was, boy, I don't know how to feel. Clearly they've been leading up to this. Clearly I feel like they see this as a pivotal moment for that character. And I think one of the reasons, like the second they thought, oh, let's have Pike on the show, they thought of a scene like this.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
And for me, it's like, it's fine. It isn't the kind of thing that, we talk about, trying to preserve canon, but like, let's not let it be a shackle. Let's let it be a guide. for me, it doesn't really add anything. Like, it's just like they take we see a specific moment where he literally knows he's going to become, melty faced beepy guy in the future, and he decides specifically, well, I got to do it no matter what because I'm a hero. But when that happens to him, he is a hero because he's literally like saving these trainees' lives when his face gets blown off.
That's what I was thinking.
It's just a sort of it's just a duplication. It's redundant. Like, we already know that he is going to make that choice. So, and their depiction of that moment was interesting. I mean, this show has never steered away from spending money, but I thought it was interesting that they chose to actually depict that moment instead of just having him see something that we don't see or sound effects or something like that. But for me, it's like, this is where, hitting the cute reference button became just laying on the reference horn as far as like, hey, it's Captain Pike, hey, remember this is going to happen.
It's like everyone already watching Anson Mount be beautiful on screen is like thinking about how he's going to become melty face beepy guy. Everyone's already, every scene with him in it is everyone like having just a bittersweet moment the entire time, being like, oh, he's so perfect and soon he will be horribly disfigured. Like,
it's kind of like seeing I can't remember if Lord of the Rings did this because I'm in Star Trek brain right now, but it's kind of like seeing a character who in the future is going to die or turn evil or something like that. Seeing them kind of at their best,
Boromir.
Yeah, then maybe there you go, Boromir.
It's Boromir before the breaking of the Fellowship. Yeah,
right. Yeah, seeing the flashback at Osgiliath. Okay, I'm back in LOTR brain. It's like seeing that and just knowing, boy, it's going to get bad. A scene like for instance, the scene where he talks to Vina in episode 7, I think it is. That's like sort of a sequel scene. Like, you could imagine that. He's separated from this woman that he clearly cares about. He can never go back there under penalty of death unless you're Michael Burnham. You can get away with anything. And he has a chance to have this sort of long-distance conversation with her, and it brings sort of closure or some sort of development to their relationship. But this feels like a cover song, you know what I mean? Like, this just feels like kind of going back and like, you're not going to hire a guy to play Christopher Pike, and we're not going to try to show that scene.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to give his character some kind of depth, or like when he leaves at the end of the season, like, I feel like we're supposed to see something, we're going to want to see something behind Anson Mount's eyes. Like, he knows that he has this like dark.
It's so much more tragic though if he's like, hey, hit it, let's see what's out there. He's like, that was fun.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and
then he takes off and it's like, oh boy. Yeah.
If he was just the same like dad captain the entire way through, but instead he's like,
no, he's sad daddy now.
He's like invisible shock. He's
sad
like
daddy.
Disassociating.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I fully understand why they did it. I just, I don't think you don't have to tinker with that too much. Anyway, that's how I feel. What else should we talk about? You were mentioning before, hey, everybody, we've got a kid. And he reveals that to Michael, and I guess we still haven't seen this scene where they kiss or whatever, but she is definitely, whatever is passed between them, she cares about him for sure. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That must have been so tough. She gives him that sort of support. So that was kind of nice to see.
I'm just so I was just trying to picture, like, you're Michael and you're kind of ex, but also you just kissed him because you thought you were going to die. Yeah. Is like, oh, give me 1 second and I'll just get my only other ex on the phone and she'll bring us to the super secret Klingon planet, no problem, because like we're tight like that. Yeah. And then she goes to his quarters to see him and have like a private conversation. But instead of having a private conversation with your ex, who's not really your ex, instead you find out that his other ex like is his baby mama and that he has a secret child. Like, and she barely blinks the whole time.
Right. Next week on Scandal. Yeah.
Exactly. And then it was just over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Pike's reaction was better because he was just like, oh my God, I'll go if you stop yelling.
Yeah. Yeah. Having
like, you guys are having a domestic in my ready room. Like, it needs to be over.
Having him look sad is at least something new for him to do, other than just look like, what is happening with all these people on this ship? Yeah. But I did think that was cool. That it was just that's very Kirk. It's like, let's beam the captain down. I'll take care of it. Whatever.
It was alone.
Yeah. There was a interesting. Just going back to the idea of like, are we going to see these lights or not? I liked how they kind of lampshaded in the early part of the episode because they're all talking about the signal, and Burnham's just kind of done. She's like, "Why are we doing this? Why are we going after these signals? Who cares? Clearly, it's not that important." And they kind of kick it around for a while, and Pike's like, "Well, there's nothing else for us to do, so I guess we're just going to do it." That's just kind of how I felt. Like, okay, I'm ready for the finale of this thing. Let's see where this is going to go.
Also, just like, poor Pike actually is like the dad. It's like all of his officers keep having these weird breakdowns and then just like acting like teenagers in like meetings with senior officers.
Yeah.
It's like 2 weeks ago it was Saru just being like, well, we're gonna murder everyone. Now I'm angry, Saru. And now Burnham's like, obviously nothing matters because my mom was alive the whole time. Like,
right. Yeah, it's rough. It's really rough. I liked the one kind of scene that we got with Saru where he's sort of acting as captain, and he made an interesting comment, which was that he attributed the objective of whoever's behind the signals, that maybe they wanted him to be more brash, be the kind of more in control captain that he is, because they orchestrated the whole situation where he went through Verharai.
When he said that for a second, I was like, oh my gosh, that's so smart. And then I thought about it, and I mean, to me, Saru before was already like a fantastic Starfleet officer and captain. And now it's like, if his like anxious whatever tendencies somehow did make him a worse captain, that's gone now. But it didn't take him that long to completely get it under control. I feel like it seems like he's not making like those sudden like court-martial worthy decisions that he was at first. And now it's like, if I was his enemy, I would be like more concerned.
Okay. I can see that. I wish that we had a lot of Saru earlier on, and I'm sure he'll come into play in the finale, but I wish that we would get another look at him, the new Saru.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to put a vote in. I think
maybe next week.
Maybe next week? Yeah, probably. I actually I read the Captain Saru comic by Kirsten Beyer and Mike Johnson, and it is pre him going through Verharai, but it's a story about him kind of having to take over Discovery and like deal with stuff, and it's a pretty neat story.
I haven't read it yet. I'm waiting. Obviously, my dad like pre-orders all the Star Trek comics at our local comic book store, and so I'm waiting to go home and like just binge all the Disco comics that I'm not reading while I'm over here.
Let's see. Back on Borath, we've got Vok and L'Rell's child. She's gone from CGI baby to CGI man. He's a real man. Tenavik is his name. I think it's interesting that they didn't name him at all. Could have picked something. Is it significant that he named himself?
I was assuming that somebody at the monastery gave him a name.
Oh, they said, okay, you be Tenavik. That's a good name.
Yeah, like they're used to getting like babies that are like sons and daughters of no name, no one, right?
Sure, yeah.
Because like that's the deal, is that like if you for some reason can't keep your Klingon baby because of some overdramatic reason, you can dump them here, and we'll take care of them forever.
Right. Maybe it's like hurricanes. They have like a different one for every alphabet letter. And he's there, and they're dealing with time crystals, and we learned that the time crystals have weird properties. Of course, a baby is now a man. Also, they can make things grow and stuff like that. And so I'm kind of lost at this point. I guess they need a time crystal, Discovery does for some reason. But, like, do you think that... Oh, I want to mention real fast. I loved Pike's North Face parka, his little Starfleet.
Oh my god, I was going to talk about that
when he comes in. Yeah. Ooh, so cold out there. But they're timekeepers, which is interesting. And I'm wondering where we're going with this. They've got pillars of the present and the past and the future, And I wonder if we are looking at having some huge, other than just what we've already seen with the Red Angel, some huge intervention of time travel in the finale.
I mean, nothing that he said made any sense to me.
Yet, yeah.
I'm really just hoping that we can put the theory that he is the albino to bed. Like, now we know his name. He's got his own thing going on. Like,
right. But now that we know that his, aging is in question here, he could definitely live until the 24th century. And here we go again.
oh, how many albino Klingons with no parents are there?
Yeah, no kidding. Two. Well, actually, no, just one now, or 1.5. Yeah. Meanwhile, let's see. Spock and Michael go to find this ship that was scuttled by an AI. And, of course, they find Lieutenant Cameron Gant, who is not exactly who they think he is. What do we really learn through this? We learn that so we got a confirmation on nanobots. We know for sure it's nanobots now.
Mm-hmm.
We know that
and all it takes to beat them is like some magnets on the floor.
How do they work? Magnets. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a good way to incapacitate whatever it was. But they can also replicate or come out of the body and turn into like a goo
that
thing.
Was weird.
They come after you. Yeah. So it isn't just I'm going to hold you down and shoot you with this needle, Michael Burnham. Also, maybe we can sort of grab you like that. And they want Michael for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, Spock seemed to think it was because she specifically is a threat, but I don't know why she would be more of a threat than in that exact moment. Why is she more of a threat than Spock?
Mm-hmm.
Or why would they go specific? Why would they split Michael and Spock off? Like just them, and as opposed to like going for somebody higher up. Like, should Pike be in more danger? Should like an admiral be in more danger? I don't know.
Yeah. I think this would probably help stoke the fires that, Michael is also the Red Angel, like that theory, or will become in time the Red Angel. If we still don't really know a lot about Control, we don't know if Control that they're dealing with now is acting merely with the present information, or if there's some sort of, if they're acting with foreknowledge in the way that Dr. Burnham was. And so, yeah, I mean, there's just a lot we don't know, and there's 2 more episodes left. I mean, she's the main character. That's the reason they're after her. but also, she's dangerous, and or useful to them somehow.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. I think it was last week. I was like, I don't know what's happening, and I still am a little like, I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
where we're going.
Yeah. I also hate that thing that they do in shows like this. And it's hard to keep track of time travel stuff. But when you've got another signal appears. Now, we know that, they've sent Burnham in the suit, Dr. Burnham in the suit back to the future. But they're in the future. So they're like, another signal? Well, we know that she doesn't have the suit anymore. And it's like, but she's in the future. She can come back at any time in any order. Yeah. Like, this could totally still be. That's how time travel works, guys. But whatever. We've got to keep some narrative here. So... I also liked the idea that, again, they've got to kind of, and this will come out in the wash in the finale, but they've kind of got to keep Discovery sidelined or be careful what they do, because the sphere data, the file is stuck, in their ship on transfer. Like, that's the only place the file is. So if Control gets their hands on this file, that's game over. So they have to sort of protect the ship. And of course, I guess we can talk about it now. Like we learn, coming up in the next couple episodes, it seems like Section 31 is the entire fleet, I guess, is coming after Discovery.
Okay, can we does Section 31 have 31 ships? Did you hear that line?
Apparently they do, yes.
There's like 30 ships. It's almost the whole fleet. And I was like, back up a second, because that's more distracting than anything else in this episode.
Yeah, they're really on brand with that thing, yeah. I wonder if, I think it's going to become clear at the end of this season people's questions will be answered about like, why don't we see Sector 31 in the future? I think we're going to find out. I think it looks like, and I guess we'll just talk about what's coming up next week. It looks like Discovery and Enterprise are going to team up to probably cut down that number a little bit.
Do we think they're actually going to self-destruct Discovery?
I mean, there's no way, right?
I mean, I don't know.
You think season 3 of Discovery is going to be Star Trek Discovery, but not Discovery?
Yeah. Also, can you just imagine, like somebody telling Stamets that they're gonna blow up his ship? Can you imagine, like? Right. They wouldn't need to initiate self-destruct because Stamets' brain would just go.
Yeah, he's running out with armfuls of mushroom bushes, and yeah. So is the support drive still broken? Because they're worried about these ships converging on them, and I'm like, you can literally go anywhere. You can go to Andromeda Galaxy, if you want to. Yeah, like you can just bug out. So, I've lost track of that. I'm a bad podcast host. But to be fair, to me, it's hard to keep track of. I don't know. I do think that the fact that they have made Discovery so mission critical to this situation, and the fact that they are under threat of destruction from 30, presumably comparable ships, makes me think that we're going to pull the card here on Calypso. We're going to find out what the plan is in terms of, maybe what happens if you put a time crystal in a spore drive, for instance. Maybe a ship can hide for 1,000 years, and then once it's done whatever it needs to do, it can jump back and we'll get it back somehow. But yeah, I do think that they are going to take Discovery off the board in some way.
Well, yeah, because the other thing is, like, obviously in the future, nobody's talking about mushrooms.
Yeah.
So like.
Yeah, explain that.
At some point, yeah. At some point, at least the spore drive has to go. I don't know.
Presumably. Maybe they just get really hungry. They eat all the mushrooms.
Like, I might be a little excited if they blow up the ship, honestly.
Wow.
Just because it's so, like, I mean, remember how, like it's like the Shenzo went right away? Like, right. And now I feel like they just have this reputation of like, well, we're just going to do anything. We're Game of Thrones, but Star Trek. Like, we just keep blowing up ships left and right.
Spock and Michael came back, but we don't learn the fate of the ship they left, I don't think, do we? They just kind of leave that ship. So maybe they couldn't afford it, like in the budget, but I would have liked to have seen them go, all right, well, we're going to self-destruct this thing, right? Like that's why there's 30 ships. We got rid of this one. Because presumably if it's run by an AI, those 30 or 31 ships don't need a crew. Like they could just, come after Discovery.
You're right. I hadn't thought about that. They're like almost the entire fleet, including the one that Michael and Spock left.
Yeah. I got them. I blew them up.
I also, I want to know where it was taking them.
Yes. Somewhere outside of Federation space, I think is what they said.
Yeah, but I want to know exactly where and why. They're like, nothing's
there. The Delta Quadrant. Because Borg.
Oh no!
Yeah, I mean this in the best way. I want it to be over. Let's just get this over with. I want the end already.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens, what they do, and then we're gonna have to wait for so long. Yeah. But what if it's not? I mean, they have to either completely wrap it up, and then we'll have no idea what's happening next season, or well, I'm assuming there will be a cliffhanger, but I don't know. Every week I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen, and then every week I'm still just like, I have no idea what's gonna happen next week.
I wouldn't mind a little stronger cliffhanger than we got before. I mean, it was kind of dicey, rebooting the show on a cable streaming network or not even cable. And so they have a little thing like, ooh, it's the Enterprise. But I'd like a whole full-on, fire Mr. Worf, like, cliffhanger. Like, we know that the show can survive. It's been renewed. Like, people are into it. Like, let's use that. I wouldn't mind. I mean, the things that we've talked about, I want resolution on. But, like, yeah, give us something big. Like, maybe Discovery is supposedly destroyed. Maybe we're off the ship. Maybe I guess we can't be on the Enterprise, but I don't know, bring the hood in or something like that. Like, have our crew scattered and have to sort of reassemble.
Yeah. I was also, this is a little off topic, during this episode, I was like, they destroy Disco. Pike goes back to Enterprise. And, like, there's one other character that we know of that has to also go back to the Enterprise at some point.
Right.
Yeah.
Does Spock want to put a uniform on anytime soon?
Oh my God, I was going to bring that up. He was a fugitive, and now he's just doing whatever he wants, where he just gets to wear these, like, Peter Baelish jackets the whole time, and like, he's like, yeah, I'm going to go with my sister, if that's okay. And Pike's like, whatever you want. Like, obviously you're the one in charge here. No one cares what I do.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get that. They're holding that out for us. Speaking of what we see in the next episode, of course we see people evacuating. We see what looks like a battle or spoiling for a battle. And I'm not a big freeze frame guy, but I did freeze frame one part. And on the screen, when Pike is talking, we see the word Kahea, which is a Hawaiian word, which means to call out. I'm assuming that is the name of a ship, but who knows?
Wow. That's big.
Freeze frame facts with Aaron. A new segment. We've already.
I've never paused the show and tried to read something in the background.
Oh no, really?
No.
That's how we. Now that they have the. I mean, we had them for a while, but the remasters of TNG, a lot of people went in and discovered the little in-jokes in the Okudograms, and the displays that were clearly not meant to be seen, but now, with the new resolution that you could. Let's see. So we're already kind of talking about what's coming up. I think the big question that's left, other than the new questions that we found, are what are the lights? Like, what do you think that the lights are? Like, what's your final ruling before presumably we find out next week or the week after?
I have to buckle down on one. Oof. So the lights show up, and then Dr. Burnham shows up.
You're asking the wrong guy.
That's it?
I think that they are separate, even though they both are red. I think they are separate.
So the current, if we're to believe Dr. Burnham, she has nothing to do with them.
Right.
Therefore, somebody else is just putting these red lights in the sky. So is it just for Disco to notice them? Like, is somebody just going like, your next plot point is over here?
Yeah, maybe, possibly. The Red Angel revealed them to Spock previously, or something like that, because he, had this vision in his head, like saw them. But otherwise, I think that's what we know. What you said.
Okay, well, I don't.
Is this what you wanted, CBS? Because this is what we're doing. I'll throw something out there. Maybe they're bad. Maybe they're from the bad guys. Maybe they are like somehow being projected. Maybe they signify something for the squids, robot AI things in the future, as in like these are important parts or points in time or space, and so we're going to send something or do something, and they've been kind of what Dr. Burnham has been trying to counteract, or change or something as the Red Angel. Maybe they're not what we think they are. We think that they're beacons. We're Starfleet. We explore. We rush to mystery and danger, and maybe they are somehow like signify bad things, or they're things to be avoided, or coming from somebody with a sinister purpose.
Yeah.
Harry Mudd is what
or
I'm saying. No.
Um, are they each? I guess they're all at like they're all events that if they had gone the other way, as it like not so like if the light hadn't shown up above the monastery and Disco hadn't gone there, then they wouldn't have gotten the time crystal. Or like if the red signal hadn't showed up above the church, then Disco wouldn't have gone there. And they so like points like events that could be changed is what I'm saying. I feel like I'm always like there's the thing with time travel is that sometimes there's events that can't be changed no matter what. But it's like maybe these are the ones that can be changed. So like if it is evil, then maybe it's like they're like, oh, you can go here and prevent Discovery from getting the time crystal.
Yeah, and also maybe there are things that are being done specifically to provoke the response that leads to something if they're being done from the perspective of the future. So I've been trying to think about it too. I still don't know why I guess I know why Dr. Burnham would save people who are dying in a church in World War III, but I don't understand why Discovery was drawn there, except for Pike to have this moment with this guy, Isaac, I think his name was. This Borath one, yeah, they do get a time crystal, but I think they probably could have just asked L'Rell like where our time crystals are. So it seems important that Pike had this moment where he glimpses his future and makes a choice about it. That seemed important. A couple of these seem to sort of specifically center on Pike. I would say that, of course, the one on Kaminar, is probably has to do with Saru. That was a very important thing for him. So.
I feel so bad. The writer's room is like weaving this like intricate story, and everyone's theories are just like, yeah, I know. I'm like, I'm a film student, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else that you want to say about this episode?
I don't know. No.
Yeah, I think it's something that will definitely be like I've been looking on Memory Alpha, and Memory Alpha, I guess I'm not exactly sure how it would codify it, but it doesn't even have an entry for signal, like signals, red signals, or signals discovery. Like I think we're all, well, it depends on what YouTube channel you go to, but I think most people are waiting for the answer at this point. They've woven this story that. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, maybe we're too dumb to understand it, but I'm ready. I'm ready for the climax at this point. So we, as a show, will be there for you listeners with as we go into the climax. So stay tuned, and thanks for listening this week. If you like what you hear here, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTpod for updates, and you can get notified when new episodes of both Enterprising Individuals and Discoverage are released. We've also got a discussion group on Facebook called Enterprising Interlocutions. If you like the kind of spiky, involved discussion that we had about all things Discovery on this show, that's the kind of thing we do on that group too. So you can find us by going to facebook.com/EISTpod and join up with that group. You can also tweet to us on the show by using the hashtag Discoverage, or you can email us at EISTPOD@gmail.com. And while you're on the internet, go to your listening platform of choice or your podcatcher and subscribe to our show and give us a rating and a review if you think of it, because it really helps us out. Also, we've got some merch. You can check out our t-shirts on our TeePublic store. If you go to tpublic.com/user/justenough-trope, all one word, you can find our snazzy Trekware, phone cases, mugs, anything you want there. And if you really like the show, please tell a friend. Discoverage will return on April 11th for the next episode of Season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. That episode is entitled... we don't know. We don't know what it's entitled. We don't know the answer to that. And I think it probably will be a revelatory, which is why they're not telling us. Oh, good note. Why was this one called Through the Valley of the Shadows? What is that?
Because Pike went through the Valley